So he posted a link to, it says 50 Cent reportedly developing a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary.
50 Cent just set the internet on fire with a sneak peek of a documentary about T.I. and Tiny, and it's packed with heavy allegations that people can't stop talking about.
He posted it on his page.
Well, it ain't on there now. Did he take it off?
Yeah, he deleted it.
He put it up and then took it down, and everybody grabbed it.
At first, when he deleted the IG post, folks thought he was just trolling like he always does. But then he flipped the switch and dropped what people are calling the most explosive part anyway.
Everybody grabbed it.
So he basically, he shut the internet down today, just showing that I ain't done with this yet.
Now, rumors are spreading fast that T.I. isn't acting like himself right now, and people close to the situation are watching closely. We've got all the details, so let's really get into what's happening here.
Hints at surviving T.I. and Tiny, listen at this, documentary, and calls out the rapper over 20 sexual assault cases.
It all kicked off on March 5th, 2026, when 50 Cent jumped on Instagram and posted something wild, then suddenly deleted it before the day even ended. The post linked to a headline claiming he was working on a documentary titled Surviving T.I. and Tiny, and in the caption, he made it even more intense.
50, drop whatever you choose. Just please keep showing the world you're a whore. On Clay. Who's Clay? And you still ain't tell us why you in 4K dick pulling with the smile of a sissy. Pandora's box is ajar, which means open in Spanish. Good luck. You suck. P.S. Me and mine till the end of time. It's a trauma bomb.
He said he remembered how things got heated before his last documentary dropped, then warned T.I. directly that they were going to ask him about his 20 serious misconduct cases. He even told him he might want to call a crisis PR team right away. Then, just like that, gone, post deleted. But it was already too late. The internet had grabbed it, screenshotted it, and spread it everywhere like wildfire.
I dropped this video and he says, we can go bar for bar, hit for hit, or doc for doc. Either way, all you're gonna do is show how much of a you is. Let's play. Nobody fears you over here, boo-boo. And he dropped another freestyle. Or some.
Even though the post disappeared, the buzz only got louder, and you could feel the tension building across social media. Every major hip-hop blog, gossip page, and YouTube channel picked it up within hours. Platforms like the Jasmine Brand, Ice Cream Convos, and Hip Hop Democrat all jumped in, breaking it down from every angle.
It's me and mine till the end of time. It's a trauma bomb.
Gossip commentators were already dissecting every word, trying to figure out what this documentary could really expose. Tasha K was already out here making noise back on March 1st, 2026, claiming that 50 Cent was quietly putting something together while the tension was building up behind the scenes. At the time, some people brushed it off, but once that deleted post surfaced, it gave every media outlet a green light to run wild with the story. 50's caption wasn't random either. It clearly pointed back to his earlier documentary style, setting Surviving T.I. and Tiny up as the next big move in that same lane. And that title, that wasn't by accident at all.
Come out of nowhere. We were moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows while we were around each other, man, you know what I mean? I said, what you think about this? Like, you wanna do that shit? I said, yeah. He was like, all right, cool. So I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line.
It was a direct nod to Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly, the 2019 docuseries that brought serious allegations into the spotlight with powerful testimonies and played a role in major legal consequences. That kind of title carries weight, and 50 knew exactly what he was doing by choosing it. But T.I., he didn't stay quiet or sit back watching this unfold. He jumped straight onto Instagram and posted a family photo, making it clear he was standing solid with his people. Then that same day, Tip also dropped a video showing him and his son, King Harris, cooling in the studio, fully focused on music. The energy was calm but calculated. The caption tied into his upcoming work, highlighting the track called Let Him Know.
He said, all right. And when I jump out there, he act like he ain't know what's going on. Then that's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? Now, it about, oh, you playing.
Produced by Pharrell from his album Kill the King, and it sent a message without saying too much. Then around March 7th, 2026, T.I. took it a step further and released a track titled Trauma Bound, aiming straight at the situation. The lyrics lean heavy on loyalty, family, and standing firm, brushing off 50's documentary talk like it wasn't even something to stress over. Even the title Trauma Bond gave insight into how T.I. was framing everything. Tight circle, no breaks, no panic. Through it all, Tip's energy stayed consistent. No fear, no hesitation, just straight confidence in how he was moving.
He posted a picture of Tiny and said, "Leave me out of it." Social media T.I. and his whole family took that post as a negative connotation, even though he never specifically said anything bad about Tiny. He just posted her photo and said, "Stop discussing."
Captions, sneak disses, and drop after drop after drop. This whole situation kept escalating fast. And honestly, what 50 did ended up handing T.I. a major promo moment right in the middle of his album rollout. And Tip wasted no time cashing in on that attention. But to really understand why 50 even went the documentary route, you gotta rewind and look at where this tension really started and why it blew up again in 2026 like this.
Man, the only thing I have to say is very unfortunate, but honestly, I wasn't here to defeat, I was here to defend.
This isn't something new at all. The issues between these two go back almost 20 years, and the spark in early 2026 came from that versus battle that 50 Cent never showed up for. That moment had people talking, but the history behind it runs way deeper than that. The earliest friction between T.I. and 50 goes all the way back to 2007 and 2008, when Tip got hit with a federal gun case tied to attempting to purchase serious weapons. He ended up taking a plea deal and served about a year, even though he was reportedly facing a much longer sentence. Now that right there had people talking, and 50 definitely had something to say about it. Looking at how everything played out, 50 voiced what some were already whispering, questioning how the situation was resolved so quickly.
T.I. and Tiny have been sued for sexual assault and battery on a woman in a Los Angeles hotel. So the situation, the woman claims that in 2005, she was enlisted in the U.S. Air Force at the time.
On the 2008 G-Unit track, You So Tough, he didn't hold back. He put it Prama in the lyrics, throwing shade at T.I.'s sentence and raising eyebrows about how things went down. That narrative that Tip may have cooperated started gaining traction back then, and even though nothing was proven, it stuck around in conversations for years. Throughout the 2010s, the tension never fully disappeared. They kept their distance with occasional shots here and there, but nothing ever fully exploded. Then in 2011, when T.I. and Tiny were dealing with drug possession charges, 50 jumped on social media and made jokes about the situation, adding more fuel to the long-running tension. Still, even with all that,
Met T.I. and Tiny in the VIP section, so at this point they're all hanging out in the VIP section. She says she ordered 2 amaretto sours on her own.
Neither side completely went all in at the time, but the energy was always there, just waiting to flare up again. At the time, both of them had way too much money and motion going on to fully crash out over a rap beef. T.I. was deep in his acting career, running the Trap Music Museum and locked into reality TV, while 50 was building an empire with the Power franchise, major business deals, and G-Unit film and television. Neither one was trying to get dragged back into street-level drama like that. Then everything shifted when the pandemic hit and Versus launched in 2020, changing how artists competed and connected with fans. That platform opened a new door, and T.I. saw his moment clearly.
Then went to the bathroom to throw up, and she said she blacked out after that. She woke up the next morning.
On July 6, 2020, 50 Cent's 45th birthday, Tip went straight to Instagram and dropped a bold call-out, challenging him to a 20-song Versus. It was direct, public, and impossible to ignore. But 50? He laughed it off like it was a joke, brushing it aside like it wasn't even worth his time. T.I. didn't let it go, though. He kept bringing it up in interviews, staying on 50's neck about it. Meanwhile, 50 kept sidestepping the whole thing, and the Versus battle never actually happened. Fast forward to early 2026, and T.I. is back outside promoting Let 'Em Know, making appearances and talking heavy.
What we ever have done has been done with consensual adults who into what we into and like what we like. If we want something, we know exactly where to go to get it.
When he pulled up to Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco, he brought the Versus situation back up, but this time he added a twist that got everybody paying attention. He claimed that 50 had actually agreed to do the battle, but only behind closed doors. According to Tip, They were both out in Los Angeles working on TV show pitches when the conversation came up. He said 50 was on board with the plan. T.I. would go public first, then 50 would follow, and they'd build hype together step by step. But once T.I. made it public, 50 disappeared. And in Tip's eyes, that move wasn't just a dodge. It cost 50 a serious level of respect that he hasn't gotten back since.
Situation with T.I. and Tiny, like it says, no criminal charges was ever filed. They were investigated but never arrested for those allegations. No criminal charges was filed, largely due to the statute of limitations, issues and lack of prosecutable case.
50 shaking hands behind closed doors, then going completely silent in public, that's what really gave T.I.'s argument power. This wasn't just about a rapper getting brushed off over a versus invite anymore. This was about someone allegedly agreeing in private, then acting like the whole conversation never even happened once things went public. And 50's response? It wasn't a calm statement or a polished interview run. He jumped straight onto Instagram and posted an unflattering photo of Tiny Harris, clearly not a random pic, but one that many people felt was chosen to embarrass. The caption told T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth, and for a lot of viewers, it came off like a direct shot at the entire Harris family. Now, not everyone saw it the same way, though. Marketing professional Karen S., who's connected with major industry circles, including Lil Wayne, shared a different perspective online, pointing out that 50 didn't actually say anything explicitly disrespectful about Tiny. He just posted the photo and told T.I. to back off.
That allows victims to do that. It gives adult survivors more time to file lawsuits in cases where, like, the statute of limitations would have expired.
But the Harris family didn't take it lightly at all. King Harris fired back by reposting old explicit images of 50 that had already been circulating online for years, putting them right back into the spotlight, while Damani Harris stepped in with diss tracks aimed directly at 50, calling out his past and adding more pressure to the situation. And T.I. also kept dropping music back to back, making sure his voice stayed loud in the middle of all this. Things started getting more serious too, with reports that police received calls related to online threats during this time, showing how the tension was spilling beyond just social media and beginning to feel much more real. T.I. even pulled up to TMZ to speak on everything publicly, putting his stance out there with no hesitation. And hanging over all of this was what 50 had already hinted at, the claims he referenced in that deleted post about 20 serious misconduct cases, which he suggested could be explored in that documentary. That situation goes way deeper than any versus drama and gets far more serious than just someone skipping a music battle, as what 50 Cent hinted at ties into allegations that have been surrounding T.I. and Tiny for years.
I think Netflix is gonna give him no deal on no T.I. documentary.
Last time you thought
I don't think so. The demand is not as high for a T.I. documentary.
When 50 mentioned 20 serious misconduct cases in that deleted post, he was pointing directly at a situation that first went public back in January 2021 and quickly turned into one of the most intense and controversial moments in their careers. It all started on January 25, 2021, when Atlanta entrepreneur Sabrina Peterson went on Instagram and accused T.I. of pulling a weapon on her during a past dispute, saying it happened in front of her children. She later deleted the post, but by then the conversation had already spread widely. What happened next took things to another level, as in the comments under that post, multiple women began sharing their own experiences and allegations, which Peterson then gathered and reposted to her Instagram stories before they disappeared, but not before being widely screenshotted and shared. According to those accounts, several women described similar situations involving T.I. and Tiny, suggesting a pattern where women were invited to private gatherings or hotel rooms, offered drinks, and then alleged those drinks were tampered with substances, followed by situations where clear consent was not established. Attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn, who later represented some of the individuals making these claims, stated that many of the stories shared similar details, raising concern and drawing more public attention. By January 28 and 29, 2021, Peterson had reportedly shared over 25 of these accounts publicly, and the situation kept growing as more people paid attention, with one early anonymous accuser also coming forward and adding to the overall narrative being discussed online at the time.
50 drops a theme song for one of the shows and disses T.I.? Let's hear it. Your daddy made your mama eat every box in Atlanta.
One anonymous accuser described a situation where she met the couple at a nightclub, accepted a drink, and then later woke up the next day in pain with no clear memory of what had happened. And that account sounded similar to others being shared at the time, leading people online to notice a pattern in the stories being told. The details people pointed to kept repeating: the celebrity access, the VIP invitations, the drinks, the blackout moments, and then the confusion afterward. And those similarities are what made the situation gain so much attention and concern across social media. One of the most detailed cases involved a U.S. Air Force veteran who spoke about an alleged incident dating back to 2005. And according to the lawsuit she later filed, she attended a party at another celebrity's home where she heard T.I. and Tiny would be going to a club the following night, saying she later went to the club, met them in a VIP section, and accepted a drink from Tiny, after which she claimed things began to feel off and her condition started changing shortly after. In her account, she alleged that she later rode to a hotel with T.I., Tiny, and others, but said 2 women who were with them left before they arrived. And once inside the hotel room, she claimed her physical state worsened, describing dizziness, lightheadedness, and eventually losing consciousness, later stating that she woke up in pain with security escorting her out while T.I. and Tiny were still inside the room. T.I. and Tiny did respond publicly to these allegations, and on January 29, 2021, their spokesperson released a statement calling the claims egregiously appalling and describing them as part of an alleged attempt to damage their reputation, while T.I. also addressed the situation directly on Instagram in his own words. By February 19, 2021, attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn had taken things further by sending formal letters to prosecutors in both California and Georgia, calling for criminal investigations on behalf of 11 accusers, pushing the situation beyond social media and into the legal spotlight. And then by March 1st, he held a press conference revealing that more than 30 potential victims or witnesses had reached out to him, making the situation feel even bigger and more intense. Throughout March 2021, more claims continued to surface, with 3 additional women coming forward, one alleging she was drugged and subjected to non-consensual activity in Miami in 2010, another sharing a similar account tied to Las Vegas, and a third claiming she had been held against her will after attending a party, and each new story added more pressure and kept the headlines rolling. Law enforcement became involved as well, with the LAPD confirming in May 2021 that they had opened an active investigation focused on the 2005 case involving the Air Force veteran, while around the same time, Las Vegas Metro Police received a separate report connected to the 2010 allegation. The impact was immediate and widespread, as their VH1 reality show was suspended in February 2021, showing how quickly the fallout reached into their business and media presence, with public opinion shifting and major platforms reacting in real time. But what ultimately shaped the long-term narrative wasn't just the allegations themselves. It was what the investigations eventually led to, or didn't lead to. In the end, the criminal investigations into T.I. and Tiny's alleged conduct all reached the same outcome: no criminal convictions. And that gap between serious public claims and the legal results is exactly why 50 Cent's documentary angle still carries weight in public conversations, even if the courtroom tells a different story. When you line everything up, it becomes clear why this situation is so complicated and why it refuses to fade. Because on one side, there are years of allegations, public claims, and stories that spread quickly and hit hard, while on the other side, there are legal outcomes that didn't lead to charges or convictions, shifting how everything is viewed in court versus online. And that gap is exactly where 50 Cent saw an opening and stepped in without hesitation. A documentary doesn't need a guilty verdict to generate attention. It just needs controversy and a story people can't ignore. And this situation already has all of that built in. So by teasing surviving T.I. and Tiny, he brought past headlines right back to the surface, making people revisit what they had forgotten and pushing new audiences to look into it for the first time, which puts T.I. in a difficult position because even without anything proven in court, public opinion operates differently, and once conversations restart, they move quickly without waiting for full context. At the same time, 50 understands how to control a moment like this, having done it before by turning real-life controversy into content that dominates headlines and keeps attention locked in, regardless of whether people support it or question it, because they are still watching. Now everything feels tense, as if the documentary is released, it could reopen everything in a major way and draw even more attention to T.I. and Tiny. And even if it never drops, the conversation is already active again and shows no signs of slowing down, leaving everything dependent on what happens next. As the tension builds, the internet keeps watching, and both sides move differently under a growing spotlight. 50 Cent hasn't revealed his full plan, which keeps people paying closer attention since he sparked conversation and then stepped back to let it grow, while T.I. remains active and visible through music, interviews, and appearances to control his narrative and show he isn't backing down. The situation becomes even more complex if the documentary is released, as it could bring a new wave of attention, questions, and reactions that go beyond music and social media, reintroducing past stories to a new audience. And in today's environment, that kind of exposure spreads rapidly. But if nothing is released, some may question whether this has all been a strategic move to generate attention and promote projects on both sides, since every step so far has kept both names trending and audiences engaged, leaving the situation in a space where music, media, and real-life controversy are all blending together.
Said that's enough, really, I said that's enough when I seen that t-shirt. I said, man, this is enough. That's it. I said, man, chill out, bro, chill out. Because again, I'm big on treating people the way I want to be treated.
Right.
I don't be out here just doing unto others in ways I don't want to be done.
And right now, nobody's looking away, because whether this turns into a full documentary rollout or stays a social media war, the attention around it is only getting bigger by the day. There were no guilty verdicts, but also no not guilty verdicts either, as every single case reached the same outcome and was shut down for one key reason: the clock had already run out. In September 2021, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office decided not to file charges in the 2005 case involving the Air Force veteran, and the reason was clearly outlined in the charge evaluation. The statute of limitations had expired. At that time, California law allowed a 10-year window for cases like that, and by the time the report was made, that window had already closed, meaning the case didn't end because evidence was proven or disproven, but because it legally could not move forward. That distinction is significant, as the DA's office never had the opportunity to fully examine the claims or test them in court, with the case ending purely due to timing. While T.I. and Tiny's attorney, Sean Holley, responded by saying they were pleased but not surprised, framing the outcome as a form of vindication, even though the official documents presented as more procedural than conclusive. It wasn't about clearing names through evidence, but about deadlines expiring before the process could unfold. Las Vegas Metro Police reviewed the separate 2010 allegation and reached a similar result, with no charges filed, while other potential investigations in places like Georgia and Florida pushed through letters from Blackburn never developed into formal indictments, and no federal charges emerged from any part of the situation either. Commentators have pointed out that this means the matter never became a courtroom battle with a clear outcome, but rather one where the legal system never fully had the chance to weigh in. With the criminal side going nowhere, the situation shifted into civil court, opening a new phase. And in January 2024, the same Air Force veteran filed a civil lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court, using a different legal strategy to move the matter forward. This time, the case relied on California's Cover-Up Accountability Act, a 2022 law that created a temporary window allowing older claims to be filed even if the usual time limits had expired, provided there was evidence suggesting a cover-up, bringing renewed attention to the situation. T.I. and Tiny responded quickly, and in March 2024, they moved the case to federal court, followed by a motion in June to have it dismissed entirely, arguing that the claims were still too old and that the lawsuit did not present sufficient factual support to qualify under the revival law, particularly disputing the claim that any legally recognized cover-up had occurred. A major turning point came on August 8, 2024, when U.S. District Judge Sherilyn Peace Garnett ruled in their favor and dismissed the lawsuit, though the dismissal was without prejudice, meaning the plaintiff could revise and refile the case. And as of March 2026, no updated filing appeared publicly, leaving the matter in a kind of legal standstill, while at the same time, another legal situation was unfolding on a separate track. T.I. and Tiny had filed a defamation lawsuit against Sabrina Peterson, the same person whose 2021 post helped bring all these allegations into the public eye. But Peterson pushed back with a countersuit alleging defamation, trade libel, and emotional distress, keeping the legal battle active on another front. In June 2023, a California appeals court dismissed 5 of the 7 claims Peterson had filed, significantly narrowing the case and shifting momentum. And by October 2023, she was ordered to pay $96,703 in legal fees to T.I. and Tiny related to those dismissed claims, signaling how the court was handling parts of the dispute. Now the situation is moving toward a major moment, with the full defamation trial between T.I. and Peterson scheduled for June 9, 2026, a date that could finally bring these long-running issues into a courtroom where evidence is fully examined. As it stands, there have been no convictions, no criminal charges filed. The largest civil lawsuit was dismissed in August 2024, with no updated filing publicly since. And now, everything points toward that upcoming trial as a key turning point in how the situation may ultimately be viewed. This is exactly where 50 Cent's documentary angle draws its strength, sitting in the gap between what has been legally resolved and what the public still debates. Because while nothing on record confirms guilt, there also hasn't been a definitive moment that settled public opinion, leaving the allegations in a space that is legally constrained but culturally still discussed. And that gray area is where documentaries tend to have the most impact. Whatever 50 may or may not be developing exists in that space of uncertainty and curiosity. And as of March 13, 2026, there is still no confirmed documentary, no completed episodes, no network involvement, no official production rollout, which raises questions about whether this is a real project or a strategic move to shape the narrative. That uncertainty is what makes the situation unpredictable, as it is being driven more by perception than confirmed facts, where a single post or rumor can reignite widespread attention, something 50 Cent has shown he understands well by releasing just enough to generate headlines without committing to concrete details, creating momentum around the idea alone. Even without a trailer, release date, or platform, the concept of the documentary is already fueling debate, drawing attention, and prompting people to revisit past events, showing how curiosity and controversy can sustain interest on their own. Meanwhile, T.I. is taking a different approach by staying active and visible, releasing music, appearing in interviews, and maintaining control over his narrative in real time, rather than letting speculation define him. Though despite that, the pressure surrounding the situation has not disappeared.
I had to say, it's very unfortunate, but honestly, I wasn't here to defeat, I was here to defend. I'm just happy that the women and children in my family know that there's a line of men that's ready to stand and protect from whoever against whoever.
Because whether the documentary exists or not, the conversation it sparked is very real. And once people start revisiting past headlines, it creates a ripple effect that's hard to contain. Timing plays a huge role in all of this, and with a defamation trial set for June 2026, anything resurfacing now could influence how people view the case before it even begins, since public opinion doesn't wait for court dates or always align with legal outcomes. Everything now sits in a tense middle ground, with no confirmed documentary but maximum attention, no new legal rulings, yet ongoing debate everywhere. And as long as that gap remains open, the story keeps evolving, because in situations like this, what people believe can become just as powerful as what is actually proven. At this stage, the real question isn't just whether the documentary will be released, but who controls the narrative moving forward, as both sides are operating in completely different ways. 50 Cent staying quiet and letting mystery build momentum, hinting just enough to keep speculation growing, while T.I. remains visible and active through music, interviews, and appearances to shape his side in real time. That contrast is what keeps the situation intense, with one side building pressure quietly and the other responding publicly. And as the June 2026 trial approaches, every move, posts, interviews, headlines begins to carry more weight, influencing how opinions are formed before anything reaches a courtroom. While courts rely on evidence, public perception is already being shaped in real time, meaning that regardless of whether the documentary ever officially releases, it is already having an impact by reopening conversations, bringing past events back into focus, and keeping both 50 Cent and T.I. at the center of ongoing attention. Until something definitive happens, whether it's a trailer, a legal development, or a major reveal, the situation remains in an unpredictable space where speculation moves faster than confirmed facts. Tension continues to grow. There has been no production schedule, no official rollout, and no confirmation from 50 or G-Unit Film and Television, with the entire situation stemming from a single post that briefly appeared, caused widespread reaction, and then disappeared, a move that aligns with a familiar pattern often associated with 50 Cent, introducing something provocative, allowing discussion to build, and stepping back before committing to specifics. That approach creates momentum without obligation, as the initial post generated widespread conversation while avoiding timelines or expectations. But it also raises a larger question people are beginning to consider. Even if the documentary does exist, would it have the same impact now, given how much the timing and context have changed? The allegations involving T.I. and Tiny were already investigated years ago, went through legal channels, and didn't lead to criminal convictions. And since then, much of the general public has moved on, meaning the urgency around the situation isn't what it once was, which could affect how strongly any new project lands compared to similar moments in the past. At the same time, 50 Cent's approach shows he isn't trying to engage T.I. in a traditional rap battle, instead choosing a completely different lane by using the idea of a TV documentary as a strategic move, throwing indirect shots while keeping distance and maintaining control of the narrative without direct musical confrontation, a shift that some observers see as calculated in how he handles conflict. Meanwhile, T.I. is taking the opposite approach by staying highly active, consistently releasing music and messages to keep his voice front and center, with tracks like What It's Come To, Let 'Em Know, and Trauma Bond, feeding into his final album, Kill the King. So while 50 operates through silence and strategy, T.I. responds in real time, and that contrast is exactly what keeps the situation active and unpredictable. T.I.'s final album rollout is unfolding in the middle of all this attention, with the surrounding tension amplifying visibility in a way that traditional promotion cannot, as every headline and exchange brings more focus to the project, though T.I. has acknowledged that certain moments crossed the line for him, particularly when his son King Harris escalated things by putting 50 Cent's late mother on a t-shirt, something T.I. addressed in interviews as unacceptable. When asked by TMZ about the situation, T.I.'s response remained consistent with his overall stance, brief, controlled, and without unnecessary escalation, reinforcing his position while avoiding additional conflict. Overall, this situation reflects a broader shift in how high-level hip-hop rivalries play out in 2026, where it's no longer just about diss tracks, as even the idea of a documentary or the suggestion of one can have a major impact, with a single post, a headline capable of triggering widespread reaction, sometimes generating more attention in hours than a fully produced project might over years. And that's exactly what happened here, because as of now, the documentary everyone keeps talking about still doesn't officially exist, yet the conversation around it is very real. Meanwhile, T.I. is still standing, still active, continuing to release music, showing up publicly with his family, and making it clear that 50 can drop whatever he wants, whenever he wants, leaving everything in a strange space where nothing is fully confirmed, but nothing is faded either. The documentary isn't out, but the idea of it is everywhere, and even without a trailer, a clip, or a follow-up post, 50 Cent is still controlling a major part of the conversation through silence alone, keeping people guessing, debating, and waiting for the next move. while at the same time, T.I. is refusing to let that silence define the narrative by staying visible and consistent, using music, appearances, and statements to maintain his position as everything around him remains unpredictable. The tension hasn't cooled, with people split between those expecting 50 to deliver something major and those who see it as a calculated move from the start. And in today's media climate, that uncertainty is powerful because it keeps the story alive without constant updates, keeps both names trending without resolution, and keeps audiences watching closely as if something could happen at any moment. With the June 2026 defamation trial approaching, the stakes are even higher, since anything that happens before then, any post, leak, or announcement, could influence how the situation is perceived before it even reaches court, making this about more than just a potential documentary and turning it into a matter of timing, perception, and control, where both 50 Cent and T.I. are playing their roles in completely different ways, one moving quietly and strategically, the other staying active in the spotlight, while the internet watches for the next development. Whether the documentary ever actually releases may ultimately determine how this story evolves, but at this point, the only confirmed action from 50 Cent is a single post that was deleted within hours, and somehow, that alone was enough to spark widespread attention and keep the entire conversation going.